tremendous looking trophy.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 17 of Platinum Explosion, the number one PlayStation podcast in the Oceanias. I'm Jono Peck. Joining me this week, we have Ashley Hobley.
What's up, everybody?
We also have Ciaran Marchant.
Hi.
And Jack Cruz, keeping the streak alive.
Plat.
That's it. So Dylan is away again this week, so I'm sitting in the hosting chair. I think this is my second in 3 weeks, right? So
yeah, it's slacking off.
Yeah, that's good for me.
We're
just auditioning you for the permanent role.
Yeah. I enjoy hosting. I do like it when Dylan's here, though.
Let Jono host.
Makes things... Yeah,
yeah.
Let Jono host. Anyway, let's get straight into it. I guess the newsiest thing that's happened this week is the delay of Ni no Kuni. We will just kind of touch on that and share our thoughts. Is anyone as disappointed as I am, or are we kind of generally apathetic about Sony delays at this point?
No, I was pretty keen. It was hitting in an interesting spot, end of November, wasn't it? Originally, so I love the first one. I actually didn't finish it, but I remember it very fondly, and I was pretty keen to play this new one. But delays are always good; they always turn out better, so you can't really complain too much.
It's not
like we're short on games. But...
I'd already prepared for the worst. It was almost too good to be true that it was going to come out in November.
Yeah.
Like I'd already prepared that it was probably going to get delayed. It's one of those things. It happened with Final Fantasy. It happened with Mass Effect. It happened with everything. So
Persona 5.
Yeah,
Anything big,
it
it's like
just happens.
inevitable.
I'm at that point now as well. It's just like games will come out when they come out, and I don't even give me a release date. Doesn't mean anything to me. I'll pick up the game when it's out in the store. Like I pre-ordered and have fully paid off my collector's edition for South Park: The Stick of Truth, and I'm well prepared for that to be a PS5 launch game at this point in time. Yeah. So, not like you take anything with a grain of salt as far as release dates. And honestly, when it was, I was not surprised. Same thing, like that old quote. A delayed game can be eventually good, but a bad game is bad forever.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I misquoted that, but I think
close
something
enough.
Something along those lines. So, I'll play it when it comes out. Similar to Ash, I played it on PS3, but never finished it. I'll be interested to see how it sort of turns out in the end if we eventually get it.
I kind of forgot that it was coming out altogether. So when I saw the news, it was like, but it's one of those things. There's so many other games to play. I'm not going to be crying about it. And I think that seems to be the general consensus of the internet at this point.
Yeah,
very mature.
Much.
Yeah,
it's not No Man's Sky, so no one's getting death threats over it.
Yeah, we kind of know what it's going to be, and we know that it's something that will be worth waiting for. So let's see how that goes. Did they say when it was pushed to? It was just,
I think January, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something, which I like that January slot. Like Resident Evil killed it in that end of January, start of Feb slot. So it's nice to have a game there.
It's not a massive delay; it's just a little bump. Cool. And the other major news, I guess, is Kingdom Hearts getting a release date of the wide bracket of 2018. I'm not a big Kingdom Hearts guy, so I was going to kind of...
Why couldn't they have said that at E3?
I was going to brush over this, but it looks like you two, Ciaran and Ash specifically, are big fans of the series. So what was your reaction?
I was happy that there was
cool.
Toy Story. Like there was rumors of what the world was going to be. That they said they were announcing a world, so there was all these rumors that it could be Toy Story, it could be Frozen, it could be a lot of properties they've recently brought out. So, and I'm really excited it was Toy Story. It's about time there was a Pixar freaking game in Kingdom Hearts. The only thing that jaded me was a little bit. I didn't like it was the Japanese only version for the game. So it was like. Ugh.
For the trailer.
Yeah, so I can't tell if the voice actors for the Toy Story characters are any good or anything.
Or even for Sora and all the regular Kingdom Hearts characters.
Because Sora's
apparently
voice actor's been changed as well. So
apparently Haley Joel Osment isn't doing Sora.
Well, Haley Joel Osment's like a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, I know.
Did he start doing voices when he was a kid?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
He did?
It wouldn't have been a kid. He would have been like early 20s.
It would have been...
Yeah.
Honestly,
you look at that cast, it's pretty crazy.
Don't get too excited about this game. Haley Joel Osment's child might be able to play as the voice actor by the time this game comes out.
Yeah. Who here actually believes it's coming out in 2018?
Not a chance.
Not me.
Not a chance.
Not
happening. If it happens, I will be so overjoyed and ecstatic. But honestly, I think I wouldn't mind if it doesn't come out next year, because next year's already such a big year for games. So I feel I'm a bit worried that I'd lose Kingdom Hearts in that year.
There's a lot of stuff coming out next year. If
it's going to be a good year.
If things come out next year, Spider-Man, God of War,
pretty much
Days
every
Gone,
Sony exclusive, apparently.
Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit. No, Detroit's not. I don't think Detroit's coming out.
Nor do I say like 2020 or something.
Yeah. Nor do I think The Last Guardian is coming out. Not Last Guardian, sorry.
Shadow
of the Colossus.
Sorry.
Remake.
Shadow of the Colossus remake is not coming out next year either. So
Last Guardian's not coming out next year either. So
no, you're right.
You're right.
It came out last
year.
year.
You're right the first
time.
time.
Done that.
Yeah, I was right.
Yeah, I think next year will shape up to be like a year we compare to 2015 when we look at big release years. Like this year's probably been a little disappointing. Like it had such a great start and then it's kind of
been
tapered
sporadic
off a lot. Yeah,
It has been. There's not been I mean, even the big things that were, the big anticipated games have been letdowns.
Some of them,
Andromeda. Andromeda, the sort of the big one, obviously that came out and fizzled, and a much loved franchise that sort of didn't live up to the hype. And then there's been a spattering of other things that have come out. Obviously, Crash has been really well received, and Neo came out. I believe Neo was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, Neo was this year.
Yeah,
and Neo.
And Horizon,
March,
and Persona 5,
and Zelda, but we won't
and
talk about that.
and Zelda.
PlayStation.
Actually, maybe there's been some pretty good games that came out
It's
this year.
just
it was very
couple
front.
months.
It was very
A couple
front loaded.
months.
Like,
it's just at the moment it feels like there's nothing.
yeah.
And
we've got some great third party games coming out later, but it's not on par with, as I mentioned, 2015 and what it looks like next year is going to be. So, speaking of next year, and trailers, Spider-Man. It wasn't really a trailer as much as a behind the scenes look at the development team that got dropped on yesterday. Yeah,
Div 23.
I think there was a couple snippets.
Rustling.
Yeah, a couple snippets of new footage. What did you guys think?
I mean, I was firm before. I'm like full bar now.
I thought you were a little
cool.
lukewarm after the E3 trailer, though, Jack. I remember thinking it was a lot.
It didn't. It just didn't do anything more for me, the E3 trailer. But this one probably did more for me than that did. Just hearing the developers talk about it, and Insomniac are a well-credentialed studio who make great games and have a vast sort of catalog of work behind them that sort of speaks for itself. But just hearing them speak about it and the passion that they speak with it just reaffirmed my belief in the game. And then a little bit of like extra stuff in there about this is an older Peter, 23 they said he is, little bits and pieces like that, bit about the villain and that kind of thing. So I just, especially probably even more so after seeing Homecoming last week, I'm just really
on a Spider-Man high.
Yeah, I'm on a. Yeah, I am.
Need some of that Spider-Man.
Need some of that Spider-Man. Anybody? Y'all got any more of that Spider-Man? So now I just have to wait until 2018 for it.
What do you guys think, Ash and Ciaran?
It was just more of the same. It's great to see the passion that they've got. The most important thing is they've clearly got a vision for what they want to do with Spider-Man in this game. Yeah. So as long as they stick to that, it should be good. That car scene, that little car thing looked pretty cool, which I think was like bit of the only new footage in that.
I really
what
liked
was that exactly.
I really liked
it was
that 23-year-old Peter Parker's just because I'm slightly over playing games or watching movies where it's Peter starting out and he has to learn everything and you're gonna learn it with him. And this time it's no, this is Peter. He knows what he's doing. Like he's not going to be surprised by any new powers or anything. He knows what's going on now. My only thing is, did it come off to any of you guys like a bit of a PR almost exercise from Insomniacs to say, for people that were a bit down on the E3 trailer, like to bring this trailer out and be like, hey, look, our developers, our team is really passionate about this, where people were a bit worried with what the direction of the game was going to be with, say, like the QuickTime events and what was shown.
Yeah, I did find it odd that they released this so close to E3. It's like when I heard new trailer's been put out, I was like, that was only not even it was a month ago that we saw this whole big chunk of footage, you'd think they would try and space it out a little bit more. So I didn't know if it was part of like a campaign that they're just doing across the board, releasing. It had nothing to do with the Kingdom Hearts one, did it? Because I know they're both kind of Disney.
Well, it was part of D23.
Well, it was part of the Disney
event.
celebration, so it could go either way. It could either be this is something they had planned just as a little snippet for the Disney event, or it could have been that they wanted to put something in there to sort of keep that hype train rolling along, and sort of I guess maybe put some dousing on some flames of the people a bit down on the trailer from E3 with the QuickTime events and all that kind of thing. Yeah.
What was the car thing you mentioned, Ash?
Yeah, there was just a part where he caught a car, which looked pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm much the same as you guys, in the sense that it's cool to see the devs talking about it not as like a game, but like as a passion and a consideration for the legacy of Spider-Man and what those stories mean to people, and keeping those themes really front and center in this game. And I got vibes like, and the best thing they can do is make this like the Spider-Man version of Arkham Asylum to me, like, and that's kind of what I feel like they're doing.
Yeah, it kind of looks like they are, aren't they? Just everything, and I like when they sort of touched on. He won't be finding out any new powers or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's pretty comfortable with his powers, but they didn't say anything about gadgets. And this, even just in the footage we've seen, it seems to be like he has a lot of gadgets, like little things that stick to the walls and little bombs that react and pull the two enemies together and stuff like that. So, knowing Insomniac, and they're big on their gadgets and guns and stuff like that, and bombastic sort of tools that you get to use in the games, I think that'll be the thing that they build on. So you won't probably get powers, but you'll upgrade your web shooters, and you'll get a web bomb and some.
There's got to be that kind of stuff in there somehow to keep things
for sure.
interesting. And like looking at it as it is in that gameplay demo, it looks really daunting. And wow, there's so many different moves and different like ways to interact with the environment. So I'm guessing that they'll teach that to the players slowly, like in most of these kinds of games.
I imagine it'll be pretty sort of after the first 15 minutes, you'll sort of have and it'll be one of those things. There'll probably be skills and stuff that you won't use at all, like they are in the Arkham games, and then there'll be ones that a majority will probably just be button mashing combos and stuff like that.
The other thing that was interesting is they talked about the duality of the character and of Spider-Man and Peter. So it'll be interesting to see how much Peter is actually in the game. Are you going to have sections where you play as Peter and do stuff, or is it just going to be Spider-Man?
I think it was on Beyond or something recently where they mentioned that you can't have Spider-Man walking into a store to buy an outfit or upgrade something. Like, he can't just interact with people like you can in GTA. And it would be cool if there was a big element of the game that they were hiding from us, where you are Peter Parker, or you can change into Peter Parker and just kind of interact with people and do some investigating and find out things, or maybe you go into the Daily Bugle and
get the work of real job, so you can buy all the...
You take your photos in there and get some money for them or something like that. Would be a really cool thing to throw in there, and I don't know if it will be, but it's an interesting idea.
Definitely.
Okay, so that's Spidey. Let's get into some hard news. We've got actually some politics on the show that we don't usually touch on, but it is significant, especially to Australian gamers. I'm just going to ignore that. So we had Scott Ludlam. I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce his name because he's from WA, I think.
What's that got to do with it?
They're so difficult to pronounce in WA, their names.
No, it's because I haven't heard his name that frequently.
It's like a different country.
But he's a co-deputy leader of the Federal Greens, or he was. He's perhaps the strongest advocate for the video game industry. I'm reading from a Kotaku.com.au article, but he essentially resigned from his party and left the federal parliament effective immediately due to holding dual citizenship between New Zealand and Australia. It's apparently not
Kiwis.
allowed. It's not in the Constitution or whatever it is, which is a really strange, just bizarre turn of events for something like that to slip through the cracks. But
he's been in Parliament for like 10 years, and he's only just realising
now.
It's
not like he just kind of found out about this. He's kind of either people, they're not very strict with that rule, or he kind of kept it to himself.
You would have thought somebody would have checked when he first tried to become a politician.
Bloody Kiwis ruining everything.
Yeah, but anyway, I guess the significance to this podcast and to the video game fan base in Australia is that he's been a really big proponent of getting federal funding into the video game industry, into propping up these game dev studios and that kind of thing. So he'll be someone that's missed in that regard. How significant do you guys think this will be?
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It's not. I mean, this sort of when it sort of happened. I'd heard of him before. Funnily enough, not from anything to do with video games, but just sort of things that he's been involved with over the years. But it was almost like a sort of a industry-wide sort of, I don't know, cry of like just pain, and everyone was just tweeting and like, oh my, this is the worst. Yeah, like, this is really bad, like, I can't believe this, and he's been so great for the industry, and this, that, and the other, and so obviously he's got and I've done a bit of reading up on him, and it seems like, and I don't sort of know him, what he's like as a person, but seems to be like just a good guy, like just to the things he's been involved with and what he's sort of opposed. He's always been very like anti-war and not to get too political and stuff, but just the things that he's been involved with seem to be quite, what's the word I'm looking for?
Upstanding? I don't know.
Yeah, like just morally sort of. He's not. He's against big business, and he's fighting for support for Aboriginal land rights and disarmament and stuff like that, and being a big proponent for climate change and things like that. So he's not only a loss for the video game industry and for the arts and things like that. I think he used to be a filmmaker as well, but he's a loss for Australian Parliament as well. And we need as many good guys as we can get in 2017. Do you know what I mean? So it's sad and it's stupid. It seems like such a insignificant little detail for someone to have to resign over, considering that you don't need, you can come and go from Australia and New Zealand as you please. There's no sort of, we might as well be the same country as far as like citizenship and things like that go. You don't need visas or anything like that. You can come and you can live here and vice versa. So there's no restriction on most jobs, as far as I know, for working in this country. I can't understand how Parliament would be different, especially when it's a dual citizenship. It's not even like he's a full New Zealand citizen.
Like, it seems kind of racist towards Kiwis, hey?
Yeah, it's bizarre.
Well, it's everybody, so, but
yeah,
you can't
yeah, exactly right. I mean, it's just, and it's
on the surface.
I mean, I guess if I had I guess, what are the criteria for being a dual citizen? Because I can get like a dual passport because my mum was born in Italy. Does that make me a dual citizen, and does that then disqualify me from one day being able to be in Parliament? Or is
yes, I think it
Ciaran
does.
Should know this.
I do, because I'm a dual citizen. What up? I think it is because you can claim a citizenship because
England.
Your direct parent is a citizen of the other country, but I don't think you're technically a dual citizen until you claim it. So, as long as you don't claim it, you can be a politician.
Yeah, so that's bizarre. Like, if I was like, I'm going to get my dual passport, that seems so stupid. I mean, especially if I'm born here. Like, Scott Ludlam was born in New Zealand, so I guess that sort of, maybe you could argue that case that he was not born in Australia, but I mean, no, I don't know the facts. I'd have to look into it.
This is not this is not politics explosion.
Clearly,
this is. I was going to say citizenship explosion. Number one,
citizenship explosion.
Politics podcast in the Oceanic.
Yeah. But it's not good. It just seems to be a not good thing for, for the arts and for.
He was very open-minded in terms of video games being a legitimate industry and that kind of thing. So, any thoughts, Ash? Ciaran?
Yeah, it's just sad and kind of funny, but we can only hope that all the politicians see the outcry of everybody, and take it to heart, and hopefully that brings a bit of change in the future.
Yeah, I mean, he was just one person, so it was hard to actually find something that he had, made a big impact on, but it was just that voice. It was like we had a voice representing gamers and, well, not gamers, but the game industry as a, financial lucrative.
Was he the one who made a big deal about, who made a speech about the R rating? With
I think so, most likely.
What was that game that we reviewed early in the year that got banned?
Outlast?
Outlast 2? Yeah. I think.
Yeah, memory. Quite possibly. It's I wonder if there's probably more to the story, because he seemed to just lie down quite quickly. It doesn't seem to be any kind of fight. He resigned and that was it.
There's always something happening behind the scenes.
Yeah,
might have
like
been coming for a while.
And really, is it like a 22-year-old is sort of replacing him, who's going to take his seat. It seems, I don't know. It just seemed like he just rolled for someone who's been so, strong in the way that he's, and passionate in the things that he's fought for. He seems to just roll over pretty quickly on this one.
Yeah, well, if something's against the rules, then it's against the rules. He probably knew that if he hadn't come out and resigned, then he would have been the centre of a leak or a scandal where,
bigger problem down the road.
It hurt the party more than him to actually do that. So anyway, enough politics. Unless, Ciaran, you want to
No, I'm
throw
good.
something.
Let's move on.
You're good? Yeah.
Pour one out for everyone. Pour one out for the homie.
Yeah.
Scott Ludlam.
That was just like a kind of test the waters to see if we could put up another political podcast and
Probably something we want to do some research.
Sounds
on
like
before
sounds
we
like
jump
Jack.
right into it.
Sounds like Jack will be on there with me. Happy to talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, topic of the show. There's a little game called Thimbleweed Park that I want to talk about. So this is an adventure game in the sense of the classic 90s style adventure point-and-click games that we know so well from the likes of LucasArts, formerly Lucasfilm games. And I'm excited about this because it's coming to PlayStation 4. It's been on PC for a while. It's a Kickstarter game from Terrible Toy Box. And the guy behind it is Ron Gilbert, who is one of the OGs. He's one of the grandfathers of adventure games, along with Tim Schafer. Him and Tim Schafer were part of LucasArts back in the day. Maniac Mansion, Secret of Monkey Island. So many great titles that especially older gamers like me may hold dear to them. Ciaran, I believe you grew up with some of these games too.
They were my jam as a kid. Like, they were... I can remember from maybe 7 or 8 where Dad had Monkey Island and Broken Sword and stuff on his computer, and I used to play the crap out of them. I can honestly say I probably didn't understand the stories of them until I was a lot older, but there was always something really interesting about them and different, which was good.
Yeah, and I think that being so different from the typical I guess every other kind of style of game, especially the games that we have now, it's they did a lot to introduce some mechanics that have become really common in games. So, for example, I think Ron Gilbert himself actually coined the phrase or the term cutscene, because Maniac Mansion had scenes where it would cut away from the action to show another scene taking place that would progress the story forward. So just having a story in games in 1989 or whenever those first games from Lucasfilm Games came out was probably not something that you could do in a way, in as good a way as they did with the, such a text-heavy style of game that still had, a graphic element to it as well. Because there was always the text-based, games back in the day, like Zorg or whatever it was, where you input the commands. But so Thimbleweed
forward.
Yeah.
Walk forward.
Thimbleweed Park is an interesting one because it's taking so much inspiration from those games of yesteryear, but the pixel art in this game is second to none. The Last Night might be the only one that's prettier, but I've seen some screenshots from Thimbleweed Park, and it's intrigued me since it was kind of first revealed quite a while ago. Is anyone here interested in this game as much as I am?
Probably not as much as you are, but pretty interesting. I think this now seems to be the time for adventure games, because it seems like every 6 months we're getting a remake of one of the Tim Schafer games or some sort of point and click. And there's I imagine there's a niche section of the community that's big into those sort of things that have been keeping it alive for the last couple of years, but it seems to be exploding recently.
Exploding. Get it?
Yeah. Ciaran.
I'm not.
Sorry, Jack.
Oh yeah, I'm not really this game specifically, but I do have in my intentions of play, I guess, whatever you want to call it. Once I'm sort of done with Crash, I do want to finish off Watch Dogs, and then I've got in my queue, all downloaded, ready to go, is a good chunk of adventure games, walkie simulators, point and clicks, sort of ready to go. Tales of the Borderlands, Virginia. What's the other one with the girl?
Life is Strange?
Life is Strange and a couple other ones.
Yeah.
So, everyone's gone to the Rapture and that as well. So I'm sort of, yeah, I'm. It's never been a genre that's really pulled me in. Like, I really enjoyed The Walking Dead season 1. I thought it was fantastic, but I was sort of happy with that story to be contained in what it was. And I never really drawn in to go back, and I only want to play Tales because I'm really attracted to that Borderlands universe, and I've heard fantastic things about it.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, so there you go. But there's there's like ones that I've enjoyed over the time. Obviously, Gone Home is the big one. And whether you call that an adventure, I guess it kind of is. It's sort of
it's kind of the modern version, isn't it? Like,
that walking simulator type, pick up the clues, sort of, find your way around. And then there's even things like actual sunlight and things like that, which are a little bit sort of deeper. Whether you count that as an adventure game, it's kind of more of an experience. I don't know, but there's a lot out there.
I think that this is something we can talk about, kind of the evolution of adventure games. Like something like Broken Age would be the closest thing to what they used to be, without being like Thimbleweed Park is a direct, tie back to it. So it's interesting you mentioned Walking Dead and the walking simulators. Do you feel, Ciaran, that those are the modern version of those point-and-click games?
I think they are. I think the biggest thing the biggest change in the evolution of adventure games is the developers started making them more accessible. Adventure games used to shy people away because they were, a lot of the time, the solutions to their problems were quite complex or quite obscure. Like, I can remember the days of spending like a good half an hour going through your character's inventory and trying every single possible combination just to see if it happens and something works, because something ridiculous would happen and it would work, and that would be the solution to the problem. And I think that kind of random quirkiness was a thing I loved, but at the same time, it was a thing that probably scared some people away. Whereas,
definitely,
what Telltale has done, and they've kind of led the way with this, is they have brought the adventure game into a light where it's more like just a playable TV show. Like, so many people these days love binge watching TV shows. They've just made a playable TV show with proper writing, a good storyline, characters we care about. I think, yes, there have been some misses when they've done this. Like Game of Thrones, I believe, was a bit of a miss. And as well as I wasn't a huge fan of the Batman game as well.
What?
Oh, really? That seemed to get really good.
It was just,
reception.
I think that was probably more to do with, like, that was the first time I'd ever had problems with a Telltale game with Batman.
What,
as in technical
problems? Technical problems. Like, technical problems. Batman was the only one I've ever had technical problems with.
Really? You should be okay then, because I've had, from what I know, it was a struggle to get through Walking Dead Season 1, but everyone seems to have problems with every Telltale game.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's the thing. Yeah. Until Batman, I was like, what the hell is everybody talking about? Everything runs fine for me. Like,
that was the same for me in Guardians. I had, it crashed halfway through episode 2 to Guardians.
Like, I haven't gone back to Batman because it, froze at the end of episode 4 and then made me go all the way back to, an hour beforehand. And I'm like, you're kidding. I don't want to play this through at the minute, and I haven't gone back.
Yeah.
But I think it's made it a lot more simplistic, almost, the adventure games, where the solutions are really obvious when there's a puzzle.
Yeah.
And the...
I agree with that. I think they've dumbed it down almost too much. Like, the first season of The Walking Dead, there was a couple puzzles, and not even really puzzles, just, find the batteries for the... for the CD player or the radio or whatever. And that was got to kind of walk around, figure out what items to use. But then as Telltale's evolved, they have definitely become more of a just tap the response and walk around the room and find the object and...
Just look at everything.
And they pretty much, like you said, the Batman and Guardians and even... the Tales from the Borderlands felt to me really simplistic and like I was just watching a story take place. Even though they introduced some things like scanning the room and connecting two items or something, but there was no. They weren't puzzles like they used to be, and they were way too obtuse.
Like choose your own adventure stories.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. You're right. They did used to be really obscure but. Even LucasArts introduced the concept of having a game where the characters couldn't die, because before that it used to be infuriatingly difficult in adventure games. Like Sierra once, there's a great one, the Dagger of Amon-Ra it's called, and there was like so many ways your character could die, and it was so frustrating because if you hadn't saved for half an hour, you have to replay half an hour. There's no autosave, nothing like that, and they were just kind of brutal with it. And then LucasArts introduced this concept after Maniac Mansion where it was like, okay, you cannot die, don't have to worry about anything getting stuffed up and breaking the game. And it's kind of been a natural progression since then over time to just make it easier and easier.
How does everybody feel about the emphasis on choices now in adventure games? Like, every adventure game seems to have some kind of choice. Like, it's some kind of... You have to choose A or B at every turn in the game. So you feel like you've had control over the game and you feel like you've made the choice. Where back in like the earlier eras of adventure games, it was a narrative. Like, it was a solid single point-to-point narrative of them telling a story, but you had to work out how to get through it. Like, how do you feel that emphasis of choices has had an effect on the adventure game genre?
I think it's been a little overstated, especially like there's influence from games like Mass Effect and Fallout where you do have a lot of choice and ways that you can approach tasks. And I think that that's kind of spilled over into almost all kinds of these games. Like, I've just finished Mass Effect Andromeda, and there were points in the game where it was like so obvious that I was making a choice and this choice will affect things. And I think that it's good because people want to feel like the story is like something that they're crafting themselves. But when you have it in, like, dialogue options in Persona 5 mean almost nothing. There might be one point in the game where the dialogue actually changes what happens, as far as I know. Would you agree with that, Ash?
Yep. Very little.
Yeah. It's like, I didn't even read the options at one point. I was just, like, hitting the button. But I don't know if that really answers your question, Ciaran. What do you guys think?
No.
I think it just depends on the game, really. It seems like you get crucified one way or the other. If it's too linear, it's too linear, and then if you got too much choice, it feels like it doesn't really matter or anything, you know. But yeah, it just depends on the game.
Yeah, it's a balancing act. You've got to. Some games do it really well, and then there's some game there's just sort of take it away from the adventure game. But if you look at something like Horizon and you take that choice sort of thing into an RPG format, like Horizon's. I don't know this is a spoiler, but Horizons, as far as dialogue choices and things like that, had zero bearing on the game whatsoever. You could literally pick anything and it didn't make any difference at all.
There was one trophy that I think it affected, but that was undoable.
Same with Uncharted 4.
As far as the story of the game goes, it was insignificant, the choices that you were making. Same with Uncharted 4. They were just dialogue choices. They were just cosmetic sort of adds-ins. Whereas you got something like The Witcher 3, and specific conversations, not almost every, but it made it feel like every single conversation that you had, every choice that you made would have some sort of impact. And a lot of the time it did, and it would be something that, some random quest that you did, very start of the game, you told some guy to piss off, or you killed some guy. 30, 40 hours down the track, you sort of work out that I shouldn't have probably killed that dude. I kind of need him now. Yeah. And you were running into things, and you met someone in a town who knew a guy that you spoke to 3 towns over, and everything sort of linked up really well in that game. And very specific dialogue choices would have significantly change the outcome of games. So it's and like Ash said, you're never going to keep everyone happy. If it's too linear, it's too linear, and there's no point. If you add too much choice, it's too much. No one's ever going to be happy with anything. But I think it's definitely a balancing act. If you can get it right, somewhere in between, a Telltale game and a Witcher, then it's probably just about perfect. Where you're doing enough that you are making a difference to the outcome of the game, but not so much that it's a cop out almost. Heavy Rain's probably the one game that springs to mind that did it almost perfectly.
They did it great, yeah.
I wanted to have a shout out as well to Life is Strange, because that game does something with choices that is so different compared to everybody else, where...
Spoilers, I don't want to know
it. I'm not going to spoil it for you because you're not in it, but through something of the game, you can see what the consequences of both choices are. And that means that... It doesn't mean that you're stuck with this choice, but it just means that it's just down to what you personally are morally inclined to do in the end. It's not like my biggest problem, and I think the problem is as a generation of gamers, we're never going to have a game like Walking Dead Season 1 ever again. I'm never going to have that moment.
The way that it felt to play it, yeah.
Yeah, the way that it felt to play it, and that way at the end of the game, where it was like, oh crap, like, everything I've done in this game has built a relationship with Clem, and actually I care about this this pile of pixels. Like, god damn it, stop.
Yeah.
And
it's an interesting point you bring up, though, about that, and I'll let you finish your point, but we'll come back to it.
Yeah, no, it's... And, like, literally, all I was going to say is we've been too spoiled by that game, almost, because then from now on, we're always expecting choices to have such heavy weight, and I can guarantee that some of the top YouTube comments, if you look at adventure game Let's Plays, is, oh, those choices were they were just the same, just a bit different. And you're like, you can't... People are expecting so much difference between choices, so...
You bring up an interesting point, though, about how that game sort of ruined all the future games for it. And there's been a lot, just in probably as much as the genre has evolved over the last 5 or 6 years, even if you think about a game like Journey and a game like Abzu, and, you know, a lot of the criticisms, probably unfairly, of a game like Abzu is that it was trying to be Journey. It was, you know, we've already got Journey, we don't need this game kind of thing. When Journey came out and everything, it set the bar, and that, like The Walking Dead Season 1 did, it set the bar, and that's what everyone's aiming to hit that bar, and you'll always be disappointed because you'll never hit that bar most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting. Like, like playing some of those games, I'm one of the people that's like, what if I did the other choice? And
there's always going to be the completionists who want to do everything in the game.
The first 2 seasons of Walking Dead, I played twice because I wanted to see what would happen if I did the opposite of every choice. And the thing that I found is, you know, it actually doesn't change that much. It's kind of like an illusion of choice where it changes the flavour a little, but the result is not
you
wholly
get
different.
funneled in the same position.
Yeah, the very end, the result is the same, but it's, you know, the people who are there for the journey can be significantly different compared to, you know, depending on the choices that you make. I think
that was one of
The Walking Dead.
One of the things with the Mass Effect 3 ending that people found so disheartening was that they believed for some reason that every single choice they made along the way would produce a vastly different ending rather than just kind of a slightly different ending. And
with that, with that thought as well, even with Walking Dead Season 3, having played through all 3, and I made sure I went back on my Xbox and made sure I played every season on it, there were elements of Clementine in Season 3 where I was like, shit, that's my Clem, because I taught her that back in the first game. Like, I taught her to, like, cut her hair and stuff in the first game, and it comes back up in the third game, so there is that crossover of minor things. But
is that there for everyone?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you have a personal connection to it, even though that might be like a manufactured kind of connection.
Yes, definitely.
But that just means that they've done a good job of making the game. Cool. So we've got time for my optional topic, which I wasn't sure we would get time for. And speaking of time, I just finished Persona 5, and it took a lot of time. I think my clock was 140 or 150 hours. I haven't checked, but I know that at least maybe between 10 and 15 hours were probably idling, or me sitting there talking to you guys on the Facebook chat while the music was just running in the background. Because it's great music, and sometimes you get distracted. But I know some people have finished this game in like under 100 hours. I don't understand how it's possible unless you're speedrunning it. How long was yours?
I saw someone at 80. I think it was like 120, but...
Jesus.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's a long game.
120 hours to finish a game these days.
I mean, I didn't play another game between when it came out and like a week ago, apart from a brief stop for the Guardians of the Galaxy, because I knew it was only going to be a couple of hours.
Yeah.
But that's kind of one of the things I want to talk about, and it's your approach to these long games. I have to finish a game before I start another one, in 90% of the time, because that's kind of how I am. And I remember early in the year kind of complaining to you guys about being sick of Final Fantasy 15, and it's too long, and it's just not good, and I just want to be done with it. and finishing it and not going to do all the side stuff that was left over because of that. And I know that different people put different value on their time, and some people will just say, if I'm not enjoying a game, I'll put it down even if I've only been playing it for like 5 hours, which for me, if I spend my money, I want to experience the whole thing, even if I don't like it as much as I want to, so that then I can at least talk about how I don't like it and have, you know, a formed opinion. I compare it, I guess, to walking out of a movie after an hour because you don't like it. And I know that a game is a lot longer than a movie, so it's more understandable if you jump out of it before it's finished. But how do you guys view these things? Have you got a lot of games you've finished halfway through? I know a couple of you mentioned Ni no Kuni already, so how do you kind of justify that in your own minds?
I used to be really, like, similar in that I'll have to finish this game and I would grind my way through it. But I got to a point where, it was probably a few years ago, where I just...
When you became a dad?
What the game... No. It was well before that. And I'm just trying to think of the game that it was... That was like, that's, I can not keep playing this and be okay.
Final Fantasy 13.
No, I never even started Final Fantasy 13.
Okay.
No, it was Kingdoms of Amalur. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. Fantastic game. I put about 80 hours into that game, and I just got to a point where I was just tearing through it. The story was never anything to write home about anyway, but the gameplay was fantastic, and I'd done about 80 hours, and I was over leveled and just destroying every single, you know, enemy that I was coming across, and I just sort of to a point where I was like, I can play something else. Like, I can play something else right now and not feel like I can, you know, not feel like I'm, you know, not getting my money's worth by playing this, and it could go both ways as well. And so I've sort of taken that. You know, if a game really, you know, captures my attention and like I get engaged with it really heavily, like I'll finish it like all the way through and I'll power through it because I'll just enjoy it really a lot. But then there'll be games that will become a grind, and I'll put them away. And at the moment I'm like really frustrated because I've got like 4 games that I've sort of started in my catalog that I'm like, I want to get back and finish them off. And they're not massive long games, but like I just haven't got the desire, I guess, at the moment to jump back in and to finish them off. I just sort of haven't got the urge for it. But it's, you know, I've got Battlefield 4 sitting there, which isn't a long game. I've got like 2 stories or something left in that. You know, I've got Watch Dogs 2, I've got Final Fantasy 15, and I've got Crash Bandicoot. All games that came out, you know, late last year and started this year through to now, and all games that I just can't like get through. I'm like, you know, I'm right at the end of Final Fantasy 15, and I'm like, I've just got to get through it. You know, Watch Dogs 2, I probably haven't got that much long left in it, but I'm just waiting. And I guess it speaks to the games as well. Like, none of these games have been, you know, have
10
really...
out of 10, yeah.
Yeah, like, but Final Fantasy 15 held my, you know, my attention, and I was hooked on it for like 50 hours. But then I got to the point where I'm like, this is getting really samey, it's getting really grindy. I'm not like, I can't do this anymore. And similar with Watch Dogs, and it's just, I don't know, I need some, I'm in the stage at the moment where I just need something like that. I need another Far Cry 3 or a Borderlands 2 or a Max Payne 3 or something that just like grabs me and pulls me in. And I haven't got that at the moment. I feel like since Uncharted 4, I've not played a game. Even Horizon was great, but I've not played a game that I've wanted to like engage with like since Uncharted 4. I feel like Uncharted 4 broke me as a gamer, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
You know, even Horizon for me was a struggle to get through. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, like Horizon, and I felt the same way after I finished The Witcher 3 and Metal Gear Solid 5. I was like, everything else is just going to pale in comparison, and I've struggled to find like a game that hooks me. So, yeah, I guess that's like 10 different stories.
Once, yeah.
One. Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't finish Kingdoms of Amalur either, but that's there.
Shout out to that game. It's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great game.
Fantastic.
What about you guys?
I have terrible gaming habits. I have really bad gaming habits. I'm open world games and RPGs are the bane of my existence, and it frustrates me. I love them, but I hate them at the same time because I'm very much a player that's like a magpie. I look at a map and I go, ooh, piece of candy.
You suck.
Ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. I suck if I'm a Collingwood magpie. I'm not, though. I say, like, I literally, I don't know why, it won't be OCD, but I used to do games where, like, GTA...
You just clear the map. You can't leave, you can't move to the next map until you clear everything.
Like, GTA used to know which one was the story mission, but before I could do that next story mission, I have to do all the side missions, and then go to the story mission, and then keep repeat. And it's ruined games for me. It ruined The Witcher 3 for me, because...
Yeah.
Like, the story... Like, and I've been told by so many people that the side quests in that game are fantastic, but they don't matter as much as the story does to progressing the game. And I always get to the point in games where I almost burn myself out because I don't feel like my character's progressing. I don't feel like I'm progressing through the story because I'm spending so much time on side quests. And I do it all the time, and it frustrates the crap out of me because
No. You do it to yourself.
Yeah, I do it to myself. It's not even something... I remember Fallout 4, the week that came out, I put 40 hours into that game, and I've never gone back. And I don't know why. Like, it was honestly one of the... And I had so much fun playing it, and then I went back, and I've tried to go back a couple times, and I'm like, I can't be bothered. Like, and I think Fallout is actually a game I progressed pretty far in the story, which is ridiculous for me. I normally... mess around and then something else comes out and I want to play something else. And it stopped me from playing games. Like, I really, like, this is I'm gonna get myself killed here. I've never finished Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2.
No, man,
and I really need to.
I've never touched one. So
I'm such a fanboy of that series, but I've never finished the games. And it's one of the things where up and coming next Saturday on stream, I'm restarting Kingdom Hearts 1 because
where can people watch that stream?
Twitch.tv/Explosion Network. I'm going to restart Kingdom Hearts 1 because Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm like, I really need to play these games all the way through so I can start pretending like I can understand that confusing storyline because I'm never going to understand it.
You've got like 2 years until Kingdom Hearts 3 comes out.
It's
anyway,
fine.
So
2 years is
a bit. Plenty of time. Like
2 years is conservative.
But,
December 31st next year.
Yeah, I'm just long games. I just find them. I have so much appreciation for them, and I have so much love for fictional stories. But at the same time, I can't get myself through them because I get so trapped in like the minutia and the side quests and the collectathons of the maps. It's just what I do.
That probably makes something like Life is Strange and Walking Dead really good for you because there's not anything
it's
side
fantastic.
to get distracted.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's literally just go through and play through the game and enjoy the game. And I finished those games and I'm like, yeah. And when I first bought my PlayStation, I think the first 4 games of that PlayStation I platinumed. I did it straight through. And it was weird for me because I platinumed like Shadow of Mordor, Until Dawn, Second Son, and I can't remember the other one I platinumed. Did it all in a row, and then after that I'm like, I'm done platinuming games. I can't be bothered. It's too much effort. I enjoy stories. Yeah, so I do it to myself, which is really weird, but I don't think I'll be like, it's one of my goals to start finishing long games or quote unquote finishing the main storyline of games.
Yeah, it's hard to do sometimes. Like, I just finished Mass Effect Andromeda last night, and I'm like, do I go back and do these side missions that 30% of people have got trophies for? Nah, I'm not feeling
That's
that.
another game I need to go back and play. It's Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh, God. It's funny you bring that up, Ciaran. I'm exactly the same with like the checklist sort of games and clearing the maps, and I was the same with The Witcher 3. Like, I got to Skellige and I cleared the entire like map before you get there. I forget what they call that sort of country, but I cleared that map pretty much for everything that you could get to for like the level that I was at. And I got to Skellige and it was like this whole nother like map just as big opened up, and I'm like, fuck. And I love that game so much. Yeah, I'm like, that game is like one of my favorite games of all time. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, I burnt myself out on this game. Like, when it opens up again and all those question marks pop up, you go, fuck me. Now I've got to do all of that again. And it becomes like a chore. And I made the conscious decision to be like, okay, I'm only going to do the side quests that specifically link to the main storyline, and the rest of the shit, like a random dude I'll walk past in the fucking streets and the bounties and stuff like that. I'm not worrying about any of that. I'm just doing the main quests and the side quests that mattered to the storyline, and I got through it, and it was the best fucking decision I ever made, because I would have never finished that game otherwise.
Yeah, I had to get to a point where I was like, no treasure hunts don't need to do the treasure hunts.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to get on a boat and go to every single island in Skellige because it's going to take like 5 hours.
Yeah. But that's why I love the Far Cry games so much, because I think the balance, and Ubisoft are sort of the masters at the checkbox sort of open world game. But in the Far Cry games, I never feel like there's too much to do with side quests and different missions and checkboxes and collectibles and stuff like that. It's always just the perfect amount, the outposts and whatnot. So, yeah.
I think Assassin's Creed added too much of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a trap you can fall down quickly, especially if you're that OCD like Ciaran and myself.
My OCD for Assassin's Creed was like climb up a tower, reveal the map, jump down, do all the side missions, move to the next tower. And I wouldn't play the story until I did it for the whole city, and I'd be like,
I
ugh.
don't mind it. It's not as bad when it's like when you can do the fog of war, and you can work through the fog of war a little bit with the little bit of the map opens up, and you can sort of see that bit of the map. And you're like, okay, you move to the Horizon was quite good for that, in that you could you could just sort of work on the area that you'd open, like you'd made accessible, I guess, or viewable on the world map, which I think is a good tool for open world sort of games to use. What about you, Ash? Where do you sort of...
Yeah, I'm pretty similar to you guys. I'm notoriously bad at finishing games. I don't think... in my youth, there was like a ton of games that I never ended up finishing. Mostly because I wasn't very good. So at Kingdom Hearts, I'd end up in just not being good enough to beat the boss and stuff. I think at the end of Ni no Kuni, I was just sort of under-leveled to be there. That's why... And I just didn't feel like going back and grinding to get up to that. But like I only got past like the first section of The Witcher, and I sort of just dropped off. I'm like halfway through Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I got caught up in something else. And I'm also like I've like got to the very last section of Mad Max, I'm pretty sure, and like cleared almost everything else off the map.
Oh man.
So
sounds like I'm the only guy that finishes games.
That's the worst feeling, though, isn't it? When you do all of that and you just can't keep going with it, but you've only got I'm in the second last chapter of Final Fantasy 15. I put so much time into it, and there's not long left. Just power through, but it's just such a fucking grind.
Yeah, you just get to the point where you want to put power through the story, which is what happened for that's what happened for me in Horizon and Persona. It just started powering through the story, and that sort of got me back into the game. So then you can always go back and clear all this extra stuff later.
That's right. If you've got the drive to do it after finishing the story, you always can these days. And I should finish the discussion saying I did enjoy Persona, even though I was complaining about it taking so long. I even got a little bit emotional towards the end after the final boss.
Oh yeah,
it was
after
very
the boss.
Yeah,
just on Persona 4, how would you rank it against Persona 5? How would you rank it against Persona 4?
It's very similar in that it just feels like the modern version of it. Like they just updated a lot of the mechanics and the graphics, and everything's kind of a little bit more nuanced and a little bit more evolved than 4. What do you think, Ash?
Like story-wise, how would you compare it? Like, which has the better story, do you think?
Ooh. I think 4 had something more intriguing in that there was a mystery throughout the whole game that reeled you in a bit more than 5. What do you think, Ash?
I never played 4, so...
Oh, right, okay.
I have no opinion, but
yeah,
I enjoyed the story. I mean, it sort of built up, and a lot of complaints... A certain complaint that came up before when the game first got released sort of played itself out. Sorry, Jack. It got resolved. It made story sense.
Which complaint was that?
I'll tell you offline.
Is it a spoiler? Okay. Yeah. Sorry, listeners. But yeah, I mean, like, in some ways, because I've played 4 not too long ago, a couple of years ago, like, a lot of the characters in 5 felt like different versions of the same archetypes in some sense. And so in that sense, it was very familiar and very kind of samey, but I think it's a great game, and if it wasn't 120 hours, I would highly recommend that you play it. I just know that you wouldn't finish it. So,
or if you're on a budget,
so bad. I want to
it's
play
the reason I haven't played it. Is it? Are you able to stream it yet? Are you able to stream that game yet?
No.
You can play like
you can play up to a certain point. You can stream up to a certain point, and then you can't stream.
They extended that point.
God damn it!
I'll wait until it's re-released on Vita 2.
Right.
And then I'll jump into it, because that was the best thing about Persona is at the time when I was playing Persona 4, I was like, it was the first game up. No, sorry, it wasn't. That's a lie. It was like the second or third game I'd played when I first got my Vita, and it was at a point in time in my life where I was I was going from. I had no child at this point. I was taking public transport for 2.5 hours a day, to and from work. Play it in bed, playing it on my lunch break. Sneaky pull it out and do a couple of fusions of the personas under my desk at work and stuff like that. So it was at a point in time where I could sink 3 hours into it during the middle of the day and then put a couple hours in bed as I'm going home and that's sort of I think helped me get through Persona 4 because I think Persona 4 is similar. I think I put 120 odd hours into that. So yeah.
I played a lot of it on remote play. It felt really good.
Yeah, I might look into that.
Yeah.
Might give me a reason to pull my Vita back out.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to Every Trophy Counts, the segment of the show where we talk about trophies. I had a look at PSN profiles. We got Super Hot dropping onto the PlayStation.
And Super Hot VR as well.
Oh, snap, really?
And Super Hot VR, yes.
I feel like that's been dropping for ages.
It came out on PC, I believe,
it's
either
fantastic.
last year or at the start of this year.
It's fantastic.
Give me the elevator pitch on Super Hot.
So, can I do this, Jono? Is it cool?
Yeah, go
I'll
for
take it. So pretty much, you're a hacker that goes into a simulation. Time only moves when you move your character.
Right.
So... you can, grab guns out of midair, shoot somebody, throw the gun, grab a knife out of midair, throw the knife at somebody else, and, dodge bullets and stuff in, Matrix slow motion. And there's, different levels all based around getting used to that timing and, the one of the missions you're stood behind a bar and you've got to fight through a shootout. But at the start of the mission, you have to, grab a gun flying at you at midair. So
awesome.
It's a lot of fun, and I hear playing it in VR is fantastic. So,
I like the aesthetic. I'm just looking at some screenshots. I like the aesthetic of it. It sort of looks like first person.
Pretty cool visuals.
Yes. No, it's very good. It looks very good. I would highly recommend anybody pick it up, especially if you're a PSVR. Check it on a PSVR because it would be another one of those games that would work really well in VR.
Interesting, they got different trophy lists.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I'll just read out what we've got here. PS4 version has 9 bronze, 11 silver, 6 gold, and a platinum. Ooh. PSVR has 12 bronze, 6 silver, and 7 gold. So it's got 5 less silvers on the PSVR, but 1 extra gold.
Wait, is it 2 different games? Do you have to buy...
Yeah, 2 different... I think it is.
So you have to buy it on VR and buy it? Ooh, okay.
Well, I don't know for certain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And one of these gold trophies for the VR version is complete the game in one sitting, so good luck with that.
It's not too bad. It's actually not a long game. It'd be...
Would that include, rest mode, which, might make it a lot easier?
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm sure
but I thought it was interesting that there's such a different trophy list between the two of them being the same game, so they must have really tailored it towards the PSVR element, which is cool to see.
Yeah. It is. I agree.
Yeah. All right, and the other one I wanted to talk about was Rugby League Live 4 from Big Ant Studios. Ash, are you interested in this game?
Yes, I am, and it looks like a manageable list in comparison to the other Australian sports game that we talked about in an earlier episode.
Sorry, Jack.
We may or may not be covering this game. Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah, cool.
We probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the list, and it actually looks fun. Some of those trophies, taunt and score a try with the same player, keep your opposition scoreless on legend difficulty, get a career rookie promoted to team captain, represent state of origin, stuff like that. It makes it look like there's a lot of cool stuff to do in this game. It makes it look like there's some challenges that will keep people playing beyond just, the season modes or versus modes or whatever. So is that what you thought when you saw it, Ash, as well?
Yeah, having a look, it's not unrealistic. You don't have to score a ton of goals or complete unrealistic
400 matches or
400 matches or something, it seemed like, in the AFL. So
win 3 grand finals in a row on super hard difficulty without losing a game while being behind in the third quarter in the preliminary fight. Jeez.
Yeah. Jack, you got some salt to
and playing with the Bulldogs.
We broke them again, guys. Cruising out.
The actual list is 15 bronze, 11 silvers, 5 gold, and 1 plat, which is
They've
cool.
got to make it easy for these rugby league.
They are kind of simple. Just check out Buddy Watson.
Yeah, it's 11. Yeah. It's 11 silvers. I like that, and It's $70 on Oz Game Shop. Pretty good deal there if you're interested.
Check it out.
It's pretty soon as well. So
it's
like 2 weeks.
25th?
On the 21st. No, sorry, that's super hot. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it's
the
December
25th.
Yeah, it's very soon anyway.
It's very soon.
And as I mentioned earlier about Thimbleweed Park, I haven't got the trophies here, but I did tweet at Ron Gilbert, and he said there is a platinum for it. So
that's pretty great.
Get into that, yeah.
28th for rugby league.
As long as it doesn't require like multiple playthroughs.
Yeah, I think they'll be smart enough to avoid that. I played Broken Age and got the platinum for that. You had to do a speed run in finish the game in 2 hours or something, and it took me 5 goes because you had to do everything perfect. It wasn't 5, but it was a lot. Very good. I think that's it for the week. Thanks for listening. Where can people find you, Ash?
You can find me on Twitter at Ashley Hobley, ASHLEY, HOBLEY.
Ciaran?
You can find me at your boy Ringo on Twitter, and check out twitch.tv/Explosion Network for all the streaming goodness.
What are we streaming this week?
This week we've got Player Unknown on the PC, we've got Kingdom Hearts, and we have the Mario Kart Open Invitational. So come and hang out Thursday night and play some Mario Kart and tell me I suck.
Jack, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at cruisy_mate. I'll also be on YouTube from now until the end of time at CruisyMate.
Very good. And you can find me always on Twitter at Jono himself. Probably only until I die, not for the rest of the time. Unlike Jack, I am not immortal.
No commitment.
And you can follow the Explosion Network itself on Twitter at ExplosionPod. Do we have an email we want to plug, or are we just going to leave it at that?
Yeah, you can send us an email if you like at mail@explosionnetwork.com. We got some fancy new exclusive email addresses. So
we're moving up in the world.
Make of that what you will.
Until next week, plat plat.
Plat plat.
Plat plat.
Wow, that's a tremendous looking trophy.